Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with my Sunday's Art of Truth for the month of December 2024. It has been several months since I have done a Sunday's Art of Truth. To be honest, I've been focused on a lot of other things and I just have not been inspired to do mixed media. That being said, I am going to do more of that in the future. I don't think I'm going to do an actual project like this on a canvas or a board. I think we're going to work in an art journal, and I'm going to try to create a little bit more regularly and bring you some techniques that you could introduce into your art journal if you also keep one. So we'll talk about that more another day. But what I have in front of me is some basic tools. I've got my tear ruler to tear some papers down, a brush to adhere my papers using some matte medium. I've got my flexible modeling paste, my fluid matte medium from Liquitex, my gesso also from Liquitex. I finally scrapped the one that I had. I bought some cheap brand and it always separated and it just irritated me. And a variety of fluid acrylics. So I've got raw umber, nickel azo yellow, sap green hue, iridescent gold fine, and alizarin crimson hue. So we are not going to be needing those for quite some time. And then I also have a 12 by 12 MDF board. So it is just solid MDF material. So it's very, very heavy. I like working on it, but that's what we're going to be working on today. I have a variety of background papers. Let me separate this out here from some other things. So I've got, I printed just some digitals that I liked, some of the elements. I got some vintage music or book pages, excuse me. This is just a digital, and this is a digital that I printed on rice paper. So I'm hoping that that's going to work out well. This is another digital printed on rice paper. And this is another digital printed on rice paper. This is the theme that I'm creating around, is this, it's a kit called Christmas in Paris. And I just felt so warm in my heart when I saw this digital on Etsy, and I had to get it, and I had to create my Sunday's Art of Truth around it. This is not the main image. I'm going to be using this just to add some extra elements into the background of the piece. I'm going to be tearing this up. It is also printed on rice paper. Our main image is this one here. So isn't that just so warm and so inviting? I love the lights in the windows and the warmth that you see in this picture. I deliberately didn't pick some of the images that had a lot of people in them. I just felt like I was supposed to pick this one, and I'm sure that some of that will unfold as I create the piece and as I begin to write my Sunday's Art of Truth, which is always inspired by my creative process here. So this is what we're going to be using as our focal image. So I picked the colors that I did because I really want to bring out the lights, which will be our nickel azo yellow, and then we can add some gold. We've got a little bit of red. I'm not sure that this crimson is going to be the right one, but we'll see when we get a little bit closer. I might have to bring in some pink to make some lighter tones, and then the sap green hue will be nice to bring out some of the green and the greenery here. So this is going to be a voiceover from this point forward because my mixed media tends to go south really fast in terms of the length of time it takes me to create the piece. There's a lot of drying time, there's a lot of pausing, a lot of that, so I get a chance to cut all that out and it creates a more seamless process. So from this point forward, after I'm going to share the stencils with you here in a second, but then I'll switch to the voiceover and I'll start the process. So, and then that will give me, I can work on this over a couple of days if I choose to. It's still, I'm recording this on Wednesday, December the 18th. It's not going to be on the channel until I believe the 27th, but it's Christmas coming. So Merry Christmas. It will already be past by the time you see this video, but just to kind of give you a little bit of the background for the timing of my project. But these are the stencils that I chose because I really want this to be delicate. So I'm going to be doing some stenciling with a modeling paste using this lace stencil. This is from Finnabair, one of my favorite stencils. This is a script stencil I just got on Amazon. I will link it. And then this is another one I got on Amazon recently, and I don't think I've used it, but I thought that would be fun to introduce as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the voiceover and let you continue watching the process. Many of the parts of it will be sped up, like when I'm gluing the papers down. You don't need to see that in real time, so I'm going to get going. Okay, we're going to start with just tearing down these papers. I need to tear off all the white borders, and then I'm also using my tear ruler to tear them into smaller pieces. As I mentioned in the introduction, I chose some book pages and some images that I printed on rice paper, and my main image is printed on 65-pound copy paper. What I really loved as I worked through this process, now that I'm doing the voiceover, the project is done, is how I just pulled these papers out. I don't even know why they were where they were, but they are in Greek. And I thought how interesting when I am doing a project about Christmas and kind of Christmas joy, Christmas gratitude, the season obviously as the image depicts, but I thought that was really cool. And I really love using multiple different kinds of script to bring in different elements. Now, as in all of my mixed media, much of this will be covered over by the layers of paint and texture paste and glaze that we're going to be doing, which will make more sense as we move along. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to music and let you watch for just a little bit, and I'll be back shortly. Just finishing up with tearing these papers down. That was a little bit of a rough tear. Now, in retrospect, I wish that I had not printed those images on rice paper because they actually created a really interesting effect in terms of layers that was not exactly what I was looking for. Maybe I was thinking about tracing paper or something when I was kind of dreaming this up, but it did work out okay, and you'll be able to see that here as we move along. So now we're going to be using my Liquitex matte medium. This is fluid matte medium to adhere all of the papers. And again, I chose a variety of tones of paper because I love to see those colors shine through, and in the end it's really difficult to see because there's so many layers of paint that goes on top of these papers that it's really hard to identify unless you're watching this video or you are the creator. But I love, again, as I mentioned before, I love the story that the process tells, because I believe that the beauty is in the process, not just the end result. And collaging these papers is really satisfying because I know that they're there. I know why I chose them. These in particular, I just really liked the old world kind of feel to them, which again ties into the times of, when Jesus was born and all that was going on in our world at that time. And so I thought it was very fitting. Again, much of it does not show through. You'll see some of the rice paper and some of the script does show, and you'll be able to see that at different points during this process. But in the end product, it is not really visible. I can see it in bits and pieces when I look close at it, but it's a little bit difficult. Plus, I'm working on a 12 by 12 MDF board, and my image probably took up a 9 by 9 square of it, I would say, or maybe even a little bit larger. So much of this paper gets covered over, but again, I always opt for process over product, and I really just enjoy the gluing down of paper. I mean, isn't that why we love to work with paper? We love to tear it, we love to glue it, we love to see what we can make with it. And in this case, it's kind of a buried part of the story, but that is a story in and of itself. So I'm going to again set this to music and be back with you shortly. Just finishing up with the last bit of this paper collage, and then we will be moving on to a quick dry of all of this paper. We want to make sure that it's nice and dry and not sticky before we start applying some paint. And then I'm going to show you a close-up here of just what this looks like. It looks a lot like a collage masterboard would, in a single layer, but we're going to start with adding some paint because I really wanted to bring out the pinkish reds that are in the image of this Christmas in Paris image. And so I am using Amsterdam pink. I can't remember that color. I apologize. This is alizarin crimson hue. It is a golden fluid acrylic. And as we move along, you'll see that I am applying it to the surface because I want to get that color into the background, but it ends up being way, way, way too pink. And so I'll let you watch and see how we resolve that and how I move through that to bring it back to a look that I want, because I didn't want it to be wholly pink. So yeah. So just finishing up with the pink, and then I'm going to go ahead and give this a quick dry. And then I decided I was going to come in with some raw umber fluid acrylic and push that pink back, because as you can tell with my frantic hands, it was way too dark, and yet I still wanted to get that watered down, because I did not want the raw umber, which is a very, very dark brown, to get rid of all of the pink, because I really wanted that color peeking through, and it did in the final product. It showed. So this was a really good move, and I guess my lesson encouragement to you would be that you can keep playing until you get the result that is satisfying to you. And I mean, not all of my projects turn out. Sometimes, I mean, I have a bunch of them down in my garage that are just, I don't even know what to do with them, because they've got so many layers of texture that I'm not sure how to fix them. But this is what I did to resolve that ultra pink color, because I wasn't able to bring it to a red that I desired. So that was our quick dry. Again, making sure between every layer that the substrate is completely dry, because when we start going in with other mediums and things, it can be really problematic. So this is the rice paper that we printed on. Different text, different images that I printed. And this is the step that I think was really kind of unnecessary. It would have been better. I mean, I can see the layers still, but it would have been better if I had printed those images on like tracing paper, because the rice paper is, while it is somewhat translucent and kind of melts into the background, as you can see there, you can see some of the text underneath, some of the color underneath, but it did not give me the result that I had in my mind. It's been a hot minute since I've done this kind of mixed media, and so sometimes things fall out of my memory and my brain because I'm not actually using the skills. So while I continue to glue these on, I do want to share with you that I've been super absorbed in my junk journal world, journal making world, ephemera making world, that I have really neglected and let go of a lot of the mixed media love that I have. And so I'm going to be returning to doing Sunday's Art of Truth more often than just once a month. Well, I haven't even done it since July. I kind of really let that go. Not even kinda, I really let that go. But prior to that, my goal was to do it once a month. But I'm going to start an art journal. I purchased a Dilutions journal, and I'll show that to you in a video where I introduce the idea of doing an art journal together. And because I want to start working with you and teaching you how to do some mixed media in dry style, but also in this layered, really layered, very textured way. But I want it to be in Sunday's Art of Truth style, where I can begin to connect with my heart again around the lessons that I'm learning as I move through my art journey and as I move through my life, because I really feel like that that helps the world. It makes the world a better place. So that's the quick dry there, sorry. And I love how these images, you can see that they did get into the background, but you can see the lines around the shapes of those images in terms of the rectangles. And that's the part that I didn't care for. But again, in the end, it's not even going to show. It's not going to matter. As we move through, you'll see that some of those layers are more visible at different times during the process than they are in the final project. So now we're going to come in, just looking at the image. That's another really important thing when you decide on your focal image. You want to be kind of bringing that into screen or into your area so that you can kind of be keeping tabs on what you're doing and is that really what you like. So this, I thought this stencil was going to be great. I'm giving myself a thumbs up. Didn't even end up using it. So I do work from a very intuitional place, and so if something feels right at the moment, I just go with it, and I try not to second guess it. I try not to worry too much about it, but I'm just applying some texture paste or modeling paste. This is my Liquitex flexible modeling paste, and I've got this script stencil. Everything will be linked in the video description box so you can check it out. But back to the goal for 2025 with my mixed media, I need to explore more because I've learned that I do the same techniques over and over and over again, and I have a whole lot more talent and skill than that. And I don't mind saying that. And I'm not tapping into it. I'm not exploring. I'm part of an insider group for ChanPetite.com, and I did the first 2 lessons, and I've been a member for like 2 years, and I haven't even accessed any of the tutorials and the lessons, and I need to do that. I need to expand my exposure and my experimentation with mixed media so that I can find new ways of doing things to get the beautiful results that I love. I love the results. I always love my results, but it's always the same kind of process for me, the same elements. So now we're going to go ahead and quickly dry that. That was the script stencil, and this is a lace stencil from Finnabair. And I'm going to be putting that down in 3 places as well. And the previous texture paste is not yet dry, which I kind of wish I had waited on this when I pulled the stencils off, because it did really, really blur out some areas and made them pretty messy. But again, in the end, you cannot tell. And it is mixed media. It is supposed to be kind of messy. And so I'm putting it there, and I love this stencil. First I was like, I don't know. I haven't used it. I've used it a lot for inking, but I've not used it a lot for texturizing. So, but it actually was really pretty and very delicate for this scene. Kind of reminded me a little bit of snow. And so I liked the soft shapes that it left behind. So I'm going to go ahead and let you watch here for a moment, and then we're going to do a quick dry, and I'll be back. So I turned off my camera. I ended the stream and I started over. I forgot to turn the camera back on. So what you missed in this is I did a raw umber glaze. So let me talk about that while I'm working on this next step. Right now I'm coming in with some golden fluid acrylic. It is Nicolazo yellow. It's a very, very sunny light yellow, and it reminded me of the glow of the windows. And so I'm using my paintbrush, and I'm going to go to my finger, as I often do, to kind of spread out and bring some light into this piece, because you can see it's very, very grungy. It's very beautiful, but it's very dark and grungy. So let me talk about where the grunge came from. So I do this process called a glaze, and a glaze is where you take your paint and then you mix it with a glazing medium or a fluid matte medium or whatever work. Well, those are the 2 things that I know work, and you create a glaze. And I create a glaze out of raw umber fluid acrylic. and the matte medium, and I put that on with a paintbrush, and then I wipe it off, and so it leaves this like dark base there, which is where all that dark came from, where it got all grungy and almost vintagey. So that's what I did there. That's what you missed, but if you've been watching my channel, you've seen it before, so hopefully that's not too disappointing. But I'm going to go ahead and dry that really quick, and I love the way this is looking. I will show you up in the upper left-hand corner, I have, I didn't wait long enough for the texture paste to dry, so that white bit that you see is where it got all gummy and soft. And so in color right now, it looks gummy and soft and white. Off camera, I did zap that with a heat tool. I put some extra fluid matte medium, which dries clear, on that area to seal it because it was super soft. Worked like a charm, and then I came through and used my heat tool and dried it solid, so it's now no longer going to be affected by fluid. So I'm going to be putting the paint over that to disguise that white where it got really messy, and you can even really tell that I messed up in the final product. Which again is the beauty of mixed media, because it can conceal a lot of kind of boo-boos and things that we didn't really intend. And I do apologize, when I hold that up, I don't have the autofocus on my camera because it creates an issue. It makes the zoom go in and out, or the focus go in and out. So when I bring it close to the camera, it does actually make it blurry. So my apologies for that. But just coming in with more of that Nicolazo yellow, because I really wanted that bright. And I think in all my yakety yakin, I forgot to mention the color that I put on before was sap green hue in the fluid acrylic as well, because I wanted to bring out the greenery in the image as well. So now I'm coming in, I needed more red into the project. So this is Deco Art Americana craft paint, and I believe it is in crimson, and it will again be linked below. If I remember, I don't think I actually put it on the list, but I'll make a note. But see how I'm able to just use my finger and apply some of that red, because it's a Christmas project. I needed it to be more Christmassy, but I'm not a big fan of bright red, which is interesting because I'm working on the nostalgic Christmas flip-flop journals, and they're very, very red, but that's different for me. I struggle with it in mixed media, but you can see how it's going to really accentuate the reds and the pinks in the image itself. Now, a lot of that, again, gets muted out because of other layers that I put on, which you'll see here as we move along. But it was a good touch, and it was a good choice. And I love that center section where it's just like, looks like there is no texture in the middle. At different times when I would look at the project at this stage, it almost looked like a hidden pathway or something. I just thought it was really interesting. So tapping my watch is my reminder that I'm drying. So, and I could have cut that out, but I didn't want to spend all of my life trying to edit this video. So I pretty much just took out, took out the drying time and things like that, so that we could save a little bit of time and sped some things up that you don't need to see in real time. This is more of the Nicolazo yellow, and another dry. And oh boy, she's looking good. But you can see some of the images from the rice paper that I tore. They're in kind of in the lower right hand corner there. So I had not even previously thought about, prior to doing the project, how I was going to do the focal image, which is the picture. And so I grabbed a piece of corrugated cardboard that I had just gotten in the mail. Oh, it actually was my new art journal, came with it sandwiched in between two pieces of cardboard. So I'm going to use this kind of as a frame, and I'm going to just cut this cardboard down so that it's just slightly bigger than my image. And then we're going to ink around the edges of both the cardboard and the image with some vintage photo archival ink, and give it a little bit of a grungy edge. And so just trimming that cardboard down to size, and then we will get on with that. So this turned out better than I would have ever expected, and I achieved something in this project that I often don't achieve very well, and that is contrast. So my background of the base of the MDF board is very dark, but the white or the creamy white colors in the image really made a great contrast in the project. So I'm really, really happy with it. So I was putting it there, just kind of looking at what I wanted to do next. We'll be doing the inking and all of that here in a moment. But before I put anything else on the base, I wanted to come in with some iridescent gold fine. This is a fluid acrylic as well. One of my favorite things to add to the texture, because when you use your finger like this, you can see it's just magically amplifies the texture that is underneath. Now, I did do this all over the substrate here, but off camera, after I glued the focal image on, I came in with some silver too, and I wished I had not done that, but all things work out in the end, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, about what that looked like and how I resolved that, because I did that off camera, but you'll be seeing that in the photos. You're not going to see as much gold as you would expect. There's some silver that almost looks white, because I used a wax, and then I tried to wipe it off and it just smeared it in, and it just made it more. In the lower right hand corner particularly, it made it really kind of weird, and I didn't like it. So now we're going to come back to the focal image. Normally have that part really a lot more planned out, but this is, oh my goodness, I'm doing the voiceover on Friday, December the 20th, so we are just, Christmas is around the corner, and life has gotten very, very busy, and so I didn't do as much planning in this project. I just kind of jumped in feet first to play and just go with my heart. And if you want to read about the inspiration for this project and kind of what drew me through the project and through the choices that I made, you can read the blog post. It is called Live for the Moments You Can't Put into Words. And so in the blog, I'll be talking about that perspective of life and what that picture, what this image means to me, and how much it touches me. As I've mentioned before, I have a love for, and I think I mentioned it in the intro, I have a love, kind of a love-hate relationship almost with the French language and the French experience, and but it's something that's been healed in me, and I find it to be very, very beautiful and comforting, and so it's really cool. And so when I looked at this image, I just felt very reminiscent almost, and very warm inside. And so in the blog, I talk about a little bit more about the meaning of that and why I chose what I did. And so here I did go around it with the Vintage Photo Archival ink, and then I'm just coming in with that iridescent gold fine paint just on the tip of my finger, and just leaving kind of that gilded look that you get when you add like gilding wax or whatever around something. It's really quite beautiful. It frames things very, very well. And I will be doing the same. I don't believe I did it on camera, but I did do the same on the cardboard with the gold paint as well. I can't quite remember if I show you that or not, so my apologies if I did. So there, quick, yeah, I did it off camera. And then this is what I printed my quote on, but I found that it was way too large. And so there's just a close-up of that image. It's so gorgeous. And then the cardboard with the gold around it as well. But I didn't adhere the quote on the project on camera because it was too big. So I did resize it and printed it again, and attached it in a little bit of a different way than I had in my mind. So now I'm just gluing the paper part of this focal image, the focal point, onto the cardboard. So I'm just using my Fabri-Tac. It is my preferred glue. Holds paper just fine, and it holds it well onto cardboard. So we're going to put that on, and then we're going to be using E6000 to attach the cardboard to the substrate itself, to the MDF board. But I also decided that I wanted to add a little bit of interest to the focal image by using some brads. So you're going to see that here in a moment. We're going to put brads in all four corners of this beautiful image. It's just lovely. And just getting a paper towel here, I like to use it to kind of press down. I wasn't sure entirely if all that gold paint was completely dry, so this was a little risky, but you know, as I've said before, I sometimes live on the wild side, infrequently, and only in the art studio, not in regular life. So I'm just getting those brads out. I picked the bronze color because I thought I just like the vintage look of them. And so we're going to be getting out my pokey tool and a couple of pieces of foam and just punching some holes in the corners and adhering those brads to the square. And then we'll be attaching it, as I mentioned, with some E6000. The E6000 will stick to anything. It will stick anything to anything, it seems like. My friend Sean Petit, I've mentioned her before, and I always chuckle when I remember what she said in a video once. She said, E6000 is so strong you could glue a small child to the wall. And I laugh every time I use it because I remember her saying that, and I just thought it was so funny. It's a little bit, it's a big exaggeration, but it is good glue, but it's pretty toxic, so you want to be careful when using it. But it works well in this process because we're adhering the cardboard, which is fairly thick, with the cardboard and then the 65-pound paper on top of it, and we're gluing it onto a porous surface. So it works well because you need something that's really going to hold tight, and it's going to get, that glue is going to go into some of the crevices of the texture and just adhere very, very well. So there again, just looking at the quote, I just could not figure out a place to put it on the image, and I didn't want to put it on the piece itself the way it was. So off camera, I will be attaching it to another piece of cardboard, rounding the corners, and doing a little bit of the same gold around it, just to finish it off. So this is the E6000, trying to get the last out of the big bottle. I don't buy the big tube. I don't get the big tube because I don't use enough of it to have it not kind of go bad and get so gloppy that you can't work with it. So you can see it's really hard to get it out. And so I typically just buy the small tubes because I just don't use it that much, and usually I don't need very much at a time. So we are getting to the end of the video, guys. Again, if you want to read the inspiration for this piece, please head over to the blog. It will be linked below, and you could read the inspiration for this project and some of my thoughts around living the moments that you live for, the moments you can't put into words. And I just talk a little bit about my experience and how I don't always do it well, but I do endeavor to live in the moment. I endeavor to be present in all of the moments of my life and really treasure and cherish the beauty of the simplicity of all of our minutes. And sometimes those moments are sad, and sometimes they're joyous, sometimes they are lonely, and sometimes they are not. And so again, you can check out the blog if you want to read about that. But I thank you for watching, and I hope that you're inspired. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.